Good afternoon, Xbox Nation. My goodness, do we have a show for you today? There has been a ton of Halo, Gears, and Xbox Anaconda news, and it's the most we've had all of 2019. And to top it off, we have a very special guest that knows a thing or two about Microsoft and the Xbox platform. First, let me introduce my excellent co host, all the way from the UK. He's one of the most passionate Xbox gamers I know, creator of the awesome Dragon X podcast, and someone I consider to be a brother from another mother. Please welcome the Welsh Gamer.
From the same mother, you never know.
Yeah, that's true.
You
That
never
is true.
know. My dad did say that he went to New York once, so you just don't know.
Hey, you know what? Flip a coin. You never know.
No, man, this is awesome, bro. Always glad to be back. Obviously, I took a seat back last week, and glad to be back with my brother from another mother, Mr. Boom, from across the pond. We're here to hit it large with the Xbox topics. There's some great stuff. Great stuff. I'm just pre-warning you guys in the chat. Hang on to your seats, grab your popcorn. It's going to be one hell of a show. Now, Boom, introduce our guest, man. This is exciting.
Oh, yes. Well, first, I think, again, next we have a very special guest. Has more than a decade of writing and publishing experience under his belt. He has been a guest on the Xbox Nation as well as the RDX podcast with Dealer Gaming. He's the author of the book Beneath the Surface, and he's the executive editor of Petrie.com and Thurrott.com. And to top all of that off, he has his own YouTube channel that just surpassed 10,000 subs. Please welcome the incomparable Brad Sams.
That is very well done intro. Very well done.
Yeah, dude, I do it on my other. Everyone loves them. It's something I'm good at. But I you know what? It's an honor to have you, Brad, and I'm so glad I could do an opening of that stature for you.
It's fun. This might be one of the best times in recent history to be a gamer, and there's so much on the horizon. Not only, there's a lot in the Xbox camp, but it's changing in ways across the entire industry, and it's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, it certainly is, especially if you're an Xbox fan. We obviously we've had a lot of up and downs with the Xbox brand, the platform, management, and of course the community as a whole. You've seen some people completely flip and go back and just be, primarily on PlayStation. And you've had gamers like myself and many people in this chat, as well as the Welsh Gamer, kind of just hold on and believe in Phil. And everything that he said he was going to do when he was hired in 2017, he's done in spades. But you know what? I want to open up today's show with the big Halo Infinite news. Now, this has obviously been around other shows, but we haven't had a chance to talk about it. And because, you are in the know, Brad, I kind of wanted to get your opinion on this. First of all, I have to thank community member D Black Raven, who is amazing when sending me through a DM lots of information. Sometimes it's breaking, sometimes it's information that no one knows about. And they sent me this. The rumor, Brad and Welsh, is that the Halo Infinite currently may be the biggest project in the gaming history, with over a $500 million US budget. And this information comes to us from the German news source Xbox Dynasty. And they're reporting about rumors that Halo Infinite's budget is higher than $500 million, and even bigger project than Red Dead Redemption 2. Its source is the game producer Ralph Adam, who talked about rumors from GDC in a podcast called, and I'm going to butcher the name, I'm sorry, Off in Beer. So, Brad, I want to go to you first on this. First of all, I got to be honest. I've been an Xbox fan since the OG days. I've been a Master Chief fan, and it kind of saddens me that the Master Chief brand is kind of tarnished. But I believe that what 343 Industries is doing with Halo Infinite, with the Slipstream engine, is going to basically, and not to sound funny, make Halo great again. What are your takes on the possibility of a $500 million budget, Brad?
So there's some alarm bells, candidly. So if we jump back in time, I got some tips right before the last E3, and I said what's going to be called Halo Infinity. And then I've gotten some more information from other people that not all of it's been written up yet. I candidly, here's the thing. Finding someone to say, hey, yeah, it actually is over a $500 million budget is going to be increasingly difficult and very hard to do because of the way certain budgets are done. Just knowing how these companies operate, especially like as linked parts of Microsoft, it seems, I don't want to say inaccurate, but I don't think that it's fully accurate. I think there's some pieces that are potentially missing from the puzzle.
Okay.
And two, to dump $500 million into this next generation title doesn't seem to jive with what I've heard so far.
Okay.
And I'm not saying that it's not going to be a good game or anything like that, but $500 million is an astronomical amount of money by absolutely any benchmark. And so they come out and say, hey, this new generation of Halo game is going to be the most expensive game in history. It doesn't make sense with what they're doing. Now, they are building a new engine, which is not cheap. And so this is like my first clue. So let's pretend that this Slipstream engine is going to be used across multiple Microsoft properties, right? They could be using it with all their game studios. Maybe they're thinking this is the next greatest thing. If that's true, then Halo doesn't have a $500 million budget. The gaming studios might have a $500 million budget, and it's split up among them, and that part of that money is going towards the engine, and that's where the numbers are getting crossed. Something, and maybe I'm completely wrong, but something doesn't seem right when someone comes out and says, hey, they're spending $500 million only on Halo Infinite. If they are spending that kind of money there has to be a bigger narrative that is not wrapped up in the Halo universe for what they're going to do with that money.
Okay, I mean that does make sense. I mean, again, I don't know. I mean, obviously, we're a very small channel, so we go based on the information that's put out there. You know, I don't know if this includes marketing. I don't know if this is going to include a special edition console and lots of things they're going to do. So but I'm interested to know exactly what they're spending, because to be honest with you, and Welsh, I'm going to get to your opinion on this in a second. They kind of need to go big with Halo Infinite in so many ways. I mean, obviously, you know, 343 took over for Bungie with Halo 4, which had a great single player campaign and a very tacked on feeling Call of Duty-esque multiplayer. And then, of course, Halo 5 comes out. We know the marketing machine was crazy. Locke versus Chief, Chief versus Locke. One kills the other. You know, Chief gets his mask broken. You know, these commercials were crazy. They even had like the old time radio podcasts, right? Where they would, you know, and they spent some serious bucks. And of course, I'll be the first one to say it. I did not enjoy the single player campaign. It took me years to finally beat it because I was not a fan of having to use Locke 9 times to Chief's 4. But the multiplayer was groundbreaking with with the way that they had the PvP and PvE in there. So it was pretty awesome. But Welsh, I want to get your opinion on this. You know, $500 million is a lot of money. We don't know exactly how close this is to reality, but in your opinion, does 343 kind of got to go big or go home?
Right. I got a bit of a mouthful here, but jumping on the back.
Go ahead, man. This is a conversational podcast. That's what we do.
Well, I mean, like Halo, man, like the second you present a topic that includes Halo, my cogs just start turning. And like when you hear $5 million, I am in fact on the fence as well with regards to, is that 500 million across multiple, or is it like to do with the marketing and like you said, like a console, and so, you know, some of it's going towards the game. I like Brad said, that's quite a figure. And I'd be very surprised if literally every dime of that, if that is in fact the figure, like literally, I'd be quite surprised if every penny of that was going into just one game, you know, Halo Infinite. But it all remains to be seen. I mean, I quickly Googled the budget for Red Dead Redemption 2, and it was $100 million to make that game. Okay. So when you put 500 million next to that number, I mean, like maybe 200 or 300 million of said 500 million is going into the game and the things that go into it. As I'm not a developer myself, I don't know the ins and outs. And then the rest is for marketing reasons and stuff. But regardless, getting to my mouthful and my point here, like this information, taking it at face value, because obviously you got to take anything with a pinch of salt, but
of course.
If it is going to be, in fact, a bigger project than Red Dead 2, just taking that statement at face value as a Halo fan, this information, Boom, and Brad, I'll address you as well. This information just gets me excited to all new heights when it concerns my hype levels for Halo. It is no secret how we feel about 343 Industries' efforts at bringing us the perfect Halo, but taking the pros and the cons from both Halo 4 and 5, coupled with this information you've just presented, Boom, about the sheer size and scope of the game and its budget, just fills me with confidence that Halo will be going bigger and better than ever with Halo Infinite, to answer your question. If this game can hit on all cylinders, bringing us the biggest and most immersive Halo world and story to life, as well as knocking another fantastic multiplayer out of the park, I honestly do think, and this is a bold statement, I'll admit, but I honestly do think it's a done deal at that point. I think it'd be a wrap. Xbox, very early on in a new generation, I think will have claimed a nice amount of ownership when it comes to a positive start of the next generation. This could even be bigger, Boom, a bigger deal than like the Anaconda and xCloud announcement, I think, in terms of how it could affect and have an effect on the gaming community. And if you'd allow me to explain, so I know you're probably thinking, oh, but xCloud and Anaconda, like the next level of hardware, the future of gaming, xCloud, play anywhere. That's surely bigger than just one game. But if you allow me to explain, I'll just say this. When you think about it, and this is still an answer to your question, Boom, about 343, should they go big? Should they go? Is this $500 million budget, allegedly going into the biggest Halo? Are they going to have to hit it out the park? And I'm just saying that when you look back at the Halo 3 era, think about it now. That was gaming at its peak. When you thought of gaming, you thought of Halo. The mysterious universe with all its secrets and canon story, the iconic Master Chief, Cortana, Arbiter, Sergeant Johnson, the arsenal of unique weapons, vehicles, and enemies to fight. And last but certainly not least, its multiplayer. And when you think about it again, looking back into the history books, it's because of Halo 2 and 3's multiplayer that online competitive FPS shooters are as big as they are today. And I think that's a fact. I don't even think that's an opinion at this point.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Oh, mate, totally. So in a nutshell, Boom, Halo wasn't just a beloved franchise. It was a symbol of what gaming should be. And I do think a lot of developers these days have lost sight of that. But if Xbox and 343 can regain that level of quality and perfection in its biggest first-party IP with Halo, then it is a wrap in the sense that all eyes will be on Xbox and its flagship title will be returning to form. And that is an incredible position to be in at the start of a new generation for the community and for the game itself, like going big and better than ever. And, and based on this information, it is sounding very promising that 343 are right, on the right track at making this happen. And I'm truly excited. Whether that 500 million is completely accurate, for me, is besides the point. The fact that this sort of information is seeping through the grapevine and we're getting a better understanding of how big this game could be, it's really quite remarkable. I'm very excited, Boom, and Brad. I'm very excited.
Yeah,
so let me ask you guys a question.
Sure.
What do you think it's gonna? Do you think it's gonna have battle royale?
Man, I hope not. I'm going to be honest. I hope not.
I'm going to say this. The whole battle royale stigma, like, oh, I don't want this game to have it, I don't want that game to have it. When you think about it, there was a moment in time where I think it might have been like Rainbow Six 3 or something like that, like, initially invented, in quotation, the team deathmatch game type. And then before now, you'd be hard pressed to find an online game that does not have a team deathmatch mode. And I just think battle royale is that. I think it's in its infancy. PUBG kind of brought it to the limelight, even though DayZ or whatever done it first or whatever. I don't know the ins and outs, but I do think eventually, probably most games will have a battle royale mode. Whether, in answer to your question, Brad, Halo Infinite will in fact have it or not, it remains to be seen. I wouldn't be against it, but I do think like eventually most games will probably have their own iteration of battle royale.
So I'll just throw this out there that I've heard that it does have it.
Okay, all right. So that's breaking news live on this little channel. So thank you so much for that, Brad. I do have a question for you though.
Yep.
You know, obviously, you know, there are pillars that hold up each platform, right? We know what Sony does. You know, they're very good at single player, story driven, adult themed titles, right? The over the shoulder. A lot of people don't like that. I love it. That's why I own the PS4. Nintendo, we know that their pillars are their first party. They're basically the Walt Disney of gaming is like what I like to compare them. Who's Walt Disney? But Microsoft, you know, they're in a unique situation where, you know, a lot of the complaints you get from the haters of the Xbox, and even some of the people that have left the emerald green for the sapphire blue, have said, well, all they have is Gears, Halo, and Forza, and those are their three main pillars. In your opinion, and from what you heard, how important do you think Halo Infinite is, not only to Microsoft, the platform, but Halo Infinite, the franchise?
Well, it's so taking even a step back. Phil Spencer fully understands what moves hardware, right?
Right.
He understands, and this is the big change from when he took over, and what we are seeing right now, and why this is exciting, especially in like the Xbox space, right? You can't go in there and day one make changes that are actually going to really have big impact. It takes years. It takes 2 to 3 years minimum for his strategy to start to materialize in any meaningful way. And so he understands why Xbox didn't do as well this generation, because they had their marketing messaging wrong. We all know that. That's not some secret. But he also understands the IP side, which is why he has been on the it's even bigger than that. He understands, and he's been pushing, right, to get the game studio. But then the bigger news, which most people kind of just glossed over, is that Phil Spencer is now on the senior leadership team at Microsoft. Xbox didn't have a direct presence for a very long time. So now he sits at the big table and has the CEO and the board of directors' ears. And that's how he's been able to get the funding to do everything that he needs. And so he knows that Halo Infinite has to move hardware. I don't want to say he's betting his career on it, but he's making a significant investment to make sure that it happens. And that's why when you hear numbers like 500 million for the budget, it's like, okay, that number's crazy. But I do firmly believe that he is being more liberal in funding IP to make sure that Microsoft has a very solid presence during the life cycle of the next generation hardware. And that starts on day one. And so we're going to learn more about these plans here in a few weeks at E3. And so that's kind of what I'm watching for, is to see how close are they to being able to push that button to make sure that all this stuff aligns, because it is very hard, guys. It is very hard to get a game to launch on time and then to say, hey, this game has to launch along with a brand new console. Like you're trying to align two very difficult things at the same time. And so you need funding, you need a lot of people. Granted, you can overfund projects too. Don't forget that. I mean, the famous saying is, one woman can have a baby in 9 months, 2 women don't have it in 4.5. Right? So
yeah,
it's going to be interesting to watch how they try to align the console launch with all the first party titles and exclusive titles, because it's a very difficult challenge. But we're going to get a glimpse of it at E3. And to answer your question, he knows that it's very important to the next generation, because Halo is an iconic brand that is solely dedicated to the Xbox.
Can I ask you something, Brad? 2 seconds. Is that okay, Boom?
Well, by all means, you're a co-host, my friend. Go take it away.
Oh, appreciate that. Appreciate the mantle. But no, basically, Brad, like what you're saying, like with Phil Spencer, like knowing, like, being that he's got, the seat at the big boy table, he's got that juice box and that bloody, he's got all the trimmings, the little lunch box and everything. He's sat next to Satya, his main man on the right-hand side. He's got a say in things now. And I'm just wondering, in your words, like we have discussed in depth already about that $500 million figure. and you said quite openly, like, that's astronomical. That's, you know, could be this, could be that. But after what you literally just said about Phil Spencer's position, and he knows the importance of Halo Infinite, not only the franchise itself, because it's one of the main pillars of Xbox, as Boom just alluded to. Not only does it need to be the sale that drives the sale, like literally the sale of the ship that will drive the sales of the Xbox Anaconda and future hardware. But do you think, with all that in mind, and the fact that with the new Slipspace engine, the fact that they're going much bigger, more exploring, slightly more open world, and you just know it's going to be a totally different Halo to we've ever expected or seen before? I'll get to my question. I'm sorry, Brad. I'm a bit of a talker. But do you think that there is even slight potential that $500 million figure could have some weight to it with all that sort of in mind?
It's so hard to tell. It's really, we know, let's stick to the facts that we know for sure, right? There's money being invested into Halo. There's money being invested into this game. We know that for certain. That is no mystery at all. Is a $500 million figure happening in Xbox Studios after they got rebranded? I'm absolutely sure that is part of their budget. Do they? The thing that trips me up on this is, by giving a title or any gaming studio that much money, you are setting them up for failure, because you're giving them too much leeway, right? Because it's like, oh, we'll just keep hiring people. We'll keep hiring people. Then it gets too diluted. And the things that make games great, granted, visuals are awesome, but it's always the gameplay, right? It's always the unique aspects. What do they bring that's new? What's the level mechanics or gun placement that makes things better than they were last generation? And money doesn't solve that. And so that's why I get hung up on saying, let's just throw a whole bunch of money and just throw the biggest number they can at them to make it happen. Unless that Slipstream engine is going to be some sort of core component of xCloud and everything else going forward.
Okay. That does make a lot of sense.
Yeah. No, it's nice to have you on, Brad. It's just a fresh perspective. It's really interesting to hear your take, dude.
It's going to be great when he comes out on stage and says, hey, we've given them $500 million. And I'm just going to sit here and be like, damn it.
Listen, you know what? That's a lot. That's a jagged pill to swallow, for sure. But real quick, before we move on to the next topic, Rumble Foreskin with the outstanding $2 super chat. We also have Old Saint Nick. I wonder if it's Santa Claus. He drops a $2 super chat, says, can't listen live, but I'll download and listen later. So thank you so much for that. And the additional $5 super chat from Ricardo Willis. Thank you so much. That is extremely kind and generous of you. Says, great show. Listening at work. Get me through my day with the world's finest podcast. Sir, that is extremely kind of you to say, and it's greatly appreciated. Brad, you know, I want to move on to, the next topic.
Sure.
Speaking of the Xbox Anaconda, some new and very exciting leaked information has been brought to my attention. Again, this leaked information the credit comes from tequila.com. Very cool play on words. We've already seen multiple leaks in the past indicating that AMD's hardware will once again power the next generation of gaming consoles, with most of them focusing on the Anaconda. As of today's show, we know that there are multiple consoles to start next gen, and this two-pronged attack will be great for the brand, offering a hardcore version and a casual version. And in truth, guys, the world's eyes will be on Anaconda, which is expected to pack some serious punch. Both of these consoles will reportedly feature custom AMD Zen 2 CPUs and Navi GPUs, both based on the 7-nanometer node. And well, according to the website, again, Tequila, which is where I pulled the story from, the new leak is suggesting that that the new system could be powered by 16 plus teraflops. And if you look back into what the Xbox One X, first of all, the Xbox One X in itself is a masterpiece, and it does everything really well. considering that, you do get that CPU bottleneck, but it does everything really well. And they're running off of 9. Remember, it was originally spoken about, Brad and Welsh, that it was going to use 8 of the teraflops, and at the last moment, basically that kind of like thrown to the end zone with no time left, they added the additional 1 the extra 1, making it a total of 9 teraflops. Allowing for more dev work, which is always great. And when you think that this new the new leaked information about it possibly being 16 plus teraflops, and having a very capable CPU, which should really relieve a lot of the bottleneck issues a lot of the consoles this generation dealt with. Just imagine they could be offering 12, maybe 13 teraflops for developers. Brad, I want to go to you first on this. First of all, have you seen this leaked information, and is there any truth to what we're seeing?
So the truth part of it is very hard, because I'm almost positive that it's part of a Zen Core 2 family. It's going to have custom Navi graphics. Solid state is a given at this point. I actually even think it's better than that. I believe it's NVMe is going to be the preferred choice, but we'll wait and see on that. That's the dev kit, I believe.
Right.
And so it's hard. People get really caught up in these numbers, and I every time I see somebody comes out and says, "Hey, it's 16 teraflops, it's 25 teraflops, 12, whatever, pick your number," I get really nervous when people say that. And everybody should, and not because like saying, "Oh God, that's not enough" or "It's too much." It's that Microsoft building a processor like this is not trivial. Granted, AMD is pretty dang good at it. They've been building them for a while. There's no question that it can't be done. But performance numbers such as that rely on mature drivers, mature chipsets, mature yields coming down the line. And we are pretty far away from the launch of the device, right? It's going to be the second half of 2020. More than likely, it's going to stick to every other cycle, probably like October or November of 2020.
Right.
To have mature yields and mature drivers for these custom chipsets done to the point where they already know the teraflops doesn't seem likely.
Okay.
And that's why I get nervous. People are like, "Oh God, it's 16 teraflops." Well, you know what? There's a lot of time between now and then, and they have a lot of optimization they have to do, and they're going to be tweaking this stuff right up until the end, right up until they ship this stuff. And we all know there's going to be a day 1 patch that's going to make it even more stable. And so when people say there's a dedicated number, like the thing that comes out in my mind is like, well, maybe that's a goal, maybe that's a target. But that's more than likely not what it's doing today. So the number 16 teraflops potentially could be accurate, but there's one of two things. Either that's the goal or that's what it's doing today. And if that's what it's doing today, then it's going to be higher. But if that's the goal, then that means they're not there yet and we don't actually know what it's doing. So whenever somebody leaks a specific number like that, my alarm bells immediately go off. What you want to look for is how many cores does it have, the cache that's involved, the clock speed, and obviously thermals are going to be a big important of everything. If anybody was around during the Xbox 360 era, they all know about that too.
Oh God, yes, I went through 12 of them. P.S. By the way.
Yeah. So I don't know the specific T-flops that Microsoft is targeting. I have a pretty good idea of exactly what the specs of the CPU are, but we'll just be cautious every time you hear the teraflop word get tossed around.
Do you think that because of the CPU bottlenecking that has plagued this generation, you think that's a main focus in Anaconda and Lockhart?
You know, there's always going to be a bottleneck no matter what you do.
Okay.
Is it going to be the CPU? Is it going to be the GPU? There's always going to be something, right? There's no perfect system. And so I think Microsoft with this generation is focusing on a couple things. One, making sure that they hit a preferred benchmark of resolution and frames per second. How they get there is up to them, right? That you can do a lot of funny things to get 60 frames per second. There's a lot of things you can do to get 4K. Sometimes companies will spoof 4K with interlacing and all that stuff. But I think for them, they're trying to hit a certain benchmark of resolution and frames per second, and then everything else will kind of just materialize around those goals. And so I don't, Are they looking at the bottlenecks? The only way they'd be worried about that this generation is if they're running into an issue where they're not getting a resolution that they want. But candidly, they're probably too far along that if they have a major bottleneck right now that they can't that it's going to be hard to overcome. The thing to know is that Microsoft has gotten good at aiding chip design, not only with the Xbox, but they've done it with ARM, with the Snapdragon 8CX that was announced last year. They've done it in the enterprise space, in the servers. So for Microsoft and AMD working together to build a custom chip, this isn't some them reaching beyond their normal bounds. Microsoft knows how to build chips now. And so what they're doing is they work with AMD, who can help them build a better chip. And then they work together to build something great. So I think that the bottleneck should be gone, mostly because they're not going to be in Jaguar cores anymore.
Yes, yeah. Thank goodness for that. Well, listen, Welsh, I'm going to say this. First of all, I'm not a technical guy, and I'll gladly admit that. That's the reason why I'm using this article as my source and reading verbatim from what it exactly had to say. But in your opinion, Welsh, are you expecting the Xbox Anaconda, as well as the Lockhart? From what we understand, the Lockhart's going to be slightly more powerful than the X, which it's hard to fathom. Do you believe that the Anaconda is going to be the most powerful home console, and I use air quotes there, we've ever seen? And do you think that Microsoft is going to be able to hit that sweet spot of $500?
Right. Well, the thing is, right, and listening to Brad once again, it's so interesting, to hear someone who can dissect and translate whatever the fuck those numbers are, because I'm like you, but I am no tech guy whatsoever. I'd love to understand it. It's not something I've completely ignored. There's, I have definitely tried to get a little bit more in the know with it, but it's like trying to teach a dog Japanese, at least in my
Yeah.
So like you, Boom, I'm not a tech wizard. So when I see this information, this leak, as someone that doesn't understand it on a technical level, what all those numbers mean and all that stuff, I'll just go backwards in terms of layman's terms. When Project Scorpio, as it was called at the time, was rumored that, we had leaks a lot like this, leaked specs, leaked information, all this stuff being dropped, its price, the power, etc. And, I was still none the wiser, still just as clueless as I am to this very day with these leaks. I didn't know what to expect. So, I figured, around the time of the Project Scorpio, it would have dynamic 4K scaling up and down from 1080 to 4K, like the PS4, kind of like the PS4 Pro. I was expecting the box itself to be double the size of the fat model. I was saving money by the penny with the mindset oh, this project Scorpio can't possibly be less than $1,000, can't possibly be less than 800. No way, Jose. I was because of my lack of understanding of all these different leaks, I was just prepared for anything. But then that faithful, E3 day approached, and on our laps, they dropped the Xbox One X announcement. They finally gave it a name and all that stuff. The specs were officially revealed, its capabilities, the price, and all in all, I could not have been any more wrong if I tried in just about every way. In every way I was wrong, though. The Xbox One X exceeded every single one of my expectations. So with that said, using the One X as my from-to reference when comparing it to this situation with these leaks with the Anaconda, those numbers and leaks and information you just read out about the Anaconda just says one thing to me as a dumbass who knows nothing about specs, and that is simple. Just, have faith in Xbox and the Surface Pro team that made the One X, and, as I know full well, that this machine, the Anaconda, is likely going to be a whole nother level than the Xbox One X. That is safe to say. The Lockhart's already dubbed to be more powerful, so that, that just leaves everyone scratching their heads. Well, if that's going to be more powerful, how much more powerful is the Anaconda? And it's more than likely, the Anaconda going to outperform the competition in just about every way. And that is no small feat. You gotta understand, the One X is like a big milestone in console. gaming, and the Anaconda aims to not only outdo the One X in every way, but it's going to be trying to outdo everything else as well. So based on how much the One X did surprise me and many other people, I feel it's no far stretch to assume that the Anaconda is going to follow suit. So I'd just say get excited, guys. And in terms of importance, Boom and Brad, just to end my spiel, this generation has proved time and time again that power is very important. That isn't even my opinion. Like, that is not my opinion. Like, that is just a fact. Like, this whole generation, if there was ever a hashtag moment, it would be hashtag the power gen, because that's all people talked about at one point or another. And that's why the One X is a thing. That's why Phil Spencer and team brought us the One X. Sony knows this. Xbox sure as shit knows this. And I don't expect either of those companies to take that power narrative lightly anytime soon, especially Xbox when you consider 2013 and all that, debacle. But these specs in a nutshell for me, and apologies for putting you to sleep, Brad. But
you're fine.
But the numbers and letters and all that stuff means nothing to me. But as someone who's owned the One X and I remember when Project Scorpio, as it was named, was getting all these different leaks, a lot like this. And this is all I can really take from this topic as a One X owner, pre and post One X being launched and officially shown with all of its specs. It just seems to be like a time loop. Kind of like a time loop, but I for one am just excited to see what they do.
Brad, I want to just ask you a question. Sure. This two-prong attack that Microsoft is doing, we haven't seen anything like this. This is definitely new and different for Microsoft. I think they understand that they have to attack the casual market. It's what rules Sony's roost. I'm going to say that it's high 85% of the 100 million is casual. PlayStation 4 is the cool system to own. But power, like Walsh was saying, is important. How surprised were you with the announcement of this two-prong attack, and do you think it's going to work?
Well, couple thoughts there. To me, the interesting more console is Lockhart. Only reason I say that is because we know that Anaconda is going to be the best that Microsoft can build. It's going to be the best Xbox experience possible with the current hardware and where we're at today. The reason why I say Lockhart is going to be the more interesting one is because Microsoft's going to have to find a way to differentiate it and make it lower price, right? The idea here is that they have one that competes with the Sony PlayStation 5 head-to-head on every spec and everything in every possible way. And then they also have another console, which is called Lockhart, or what they've called, it's also being referred to as the Arcade, is going to be a lower priced, lower spec'd device. Well, how are they going to achieve these cost savings, and what are they going to cut out of it? And so to me, that's more interesting, just because they have this great product and now they're trying to reach more gamers. And so how are they going to do that? We don't know that yet. But the two-prong approach falls right into what they're doing right now. It's no different than what we have today. We have an Xbox One X.
Yes,
we have
correct.
An Xbox One S, and soon we're going to have an Xbox One All Digital Edition, which is the Maverick console.
Right.
And so it's no different than what we have today. So it makes a lot of sense for Microsoft to try to get the most amount of hardware out there so that they can attract the bigger game developers who they don't own to build exclusive IP. So for Microsoft, the reason why they're doing that is to try to drive more numbers. And I can guarantee what they did was they looked at the current generation. They said, how many Xbox One S's are we selling and how many X's are we selling? And they're going to be like, well, they'll have those numbers. And then they'll be like, okay, Anaconda is going to sell this many, but we know that if we can sell one at a lower price around the, whatever number they pick, we can sell a whole lot more early on. And so I think it's a perfect strategy.
Okay.
I completely agree. Sorry, Boom. Carry on.
No, that's okay. Real quick, before we move on to the next topic, L. Paul with the outstanding $5 super chat. He says, sorry to change the subject, but Brad, have you heard anything about IO Interactive and Stardock being acquired?
So I know nothing about IO. I will say that.
Okay.
And the Stardock one is very interesting to me. I actually know Brad Wardell pretty well. He actually invested in some work that I did a while ago. I used to work for him at one point. And so I've messaged him asking, I straight up the CEO of Stardock, I just messaged him on Skype and said, "Hey, are you being acquired?" Now he is a very, very busy person. He's been good to me in my career, I can put it that way. And he's very busy and he takes his time to respond. And I don't know if he will respond to this or not, because if they are being acquired, then he can't say anything. That being said, I mean, he's sold other stuff. He sold part of his company to, I think it was actually GameStop. They had Impulse Gaming stuff, which they sold off, which was kind of like a Steam competitor, but I think they launched before Steam, and I think GameStop bought them. I could be wrong if it wasn't GameStop. So he's not like, somebody buying Stardock isn't completely outside the realm of what I would expect. They've got a lot of good IP. They just launched, what was that, Origins, or something, StarCraft Origins, and they've got a couple other titles in the works. So if he responds back, I'll let you know. But I have not personally heard anything, but I'm waiting to see if Wardell will respond to me on Skype.
You know, that's pretty interesting. You know, I know that you're limited to time, and I have a ton of other questions, but I will say that I eventually like to have you back, at another time, you know, so we can, do a whole 2-hour show, because you're worthy of that, and you're packed with information. But I kind of want to move on to the next topic, Brad, while we have you for the next 20 minutes. Thanks to the incredible Xbox insider, in quotations, known as Clobreel, we have an insight to the Coalition's Gears 5 and how it's shaping up to be, quite frankly, a very different Gears of War. And I'm going to be honest with you. Welsh will back me up on this. I was nearly booed off of my own podcast a few months ago, when I literally jumped for joy when I heard that Gears was going to be God of War-esque in a way where we were able to explore the world. And I've always been a fan of the Gears universe. What I've not been a fan of is running down the same corridor, seeing the same burnt out cars, the same broken buildings, and looking for the cog tag in the corner. I always wanted more. I always wanted to be that gamer that really took in the scenery. And what he said during a tweet is pretty interesting. And this is what he had to say. He said, some early Gears 5 key features. Biggest Gears area ever. 20 times larger, which is bananas to think about. Most colorful, most diverse Gears yet. He has something here called Horde Escape, which sounds extremely interesting. Signature Brutality, I expected that. Kate's story, I'm very interested to know what's going on with her and her family's history. Industry-leading mocap, which is very interesting. Varied multiplayer modes, and this is where it gets good. Play Gears your way, which means deeper customization. More to come at E3. Now, Brad, this got a lot of traction from the community. There were some boo birds. I'm not going to name names, but we know who they are. And, everybody kind of wanted their Gears to be their Gears. And I think that the franchise has 5 titles under its belt. Yes, that also includes Judgment, that no one liked. I loved it. And I think that they have to evolve, and it's pretty interesting that Halo's evolving in a way that we don't know, but it's exciting. And now Gears is going to be more open world, possibly have some RPG elements to it. What are your takes from what Clobreel had to say, but more specifically, what are your takes on what the Coalition and Rod Ferguson are looking to do with the franchise?
Yeah, I mean, Gears is a classic, right? I mean, that was one of their first. I mean, you strap a chainsaw onto a gun, and the first iteration of Gears, which just kind of blew everyone out of the water. And I think many of us, myself included, just put hundreds of hours into it. And then they kind of just kept repeating the same formula. Yes, they added some new stuff in, but it's realistically a very similar game style. And so seeing them try to open up the platform, I think is exciting, because while we all love that kind of on rails shooter style, you run down the same corridor type scenario, it's been played out. We're 6 titles deep into the generation. At some point you have to take risks. Otherwise you turn into Call of Duty, which granted does make them a lot of money, but now they're starting, I think, feel that pinch. And so I hope that all of this is accurate, because to me, a more exploratory Gears title, I think would be a lot of fun with the mechanics that the game already provides. So if they could allow us to just roam around and kind of choose your own adventure style, I'd definitely be down for that.
Yeah, having side missions, I thought is something. Look, I know people are going to hate me for saying this, but first of all, God of War was a masterpiece. What Cory Barlog was able to do at Sony Santa Monica is nothing short of masterpiece worthy conversation. They took an old franchise that was traditionally kind of like that 3 3/4 view where it pulled all the way out when you were fighting big bosses, and they did something amazing. I loved it. It should have been my game of the year. Assassin's Creed Odyssey ruined that for me because that was just another masterpiece from Ubisoft. But God of War, I put over 60, maybe 70 hours into that game. I looked for every side story, every nook, every cranny, because I was so infatuated with the world that they were doing. And I think Gears has the potential to be genre defining as well as this generation defining, basically putting the cherry on top of what Microsoft went from rags to riches, from 2013 to 2019. It really is a rag to riches story on how Phil Spencer was able to turn around. But Welsh, I know that you were kind of on the fence. You might have booed me 1 or 2 times secretly, privately. You might have even done it over the air. What are your takes on these big changes for Gears 5, and are you down with it?
I'm just on the phone to the psychiatric ward. Just booking you a room now, Boom. 2 seconds. Give me 5. Yeah, that'll be, green pillows. Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you. Right. Bye. Bye. Cheers. Right. I was just a nurse. I'm sorry, Boom. It's here question. No, man. Right. Boo, I've never boomed you. Boomed? Boom, I've never boomed you.
Right,
Boom,
good for
I've
that.
never booed you. I'm with you all the way, man. And not so much like specifically Gears doing whatever Gears is doing, but games evolving and changing. Like, Gears of War 5, like, Gears is one of my favorite IPs. Like, Gears of War 5 is going to be remarkable. It's definitely my most anticipated game of 2019. I simply hallelujah! I literally cannot wait for that game, man. I literally can't wait. And and I know that there has been some boos shared over the Gears formula being changed, but for me, as I have said before, and I know Boom, you agree, I'd be interested to know if Brad agrees. But I am all about games evolving and changing, getting bigger, getting broader, totally mixing shit up if it's done correctly and it's done well. It just boils down to that for me. It's pretty much exactly what I was saying about 343 Industries and Halo Infinite moments ago, when we on the first topic. I feel that the coalition could be onto something really great here with Gears 5 and what they're doing. And if they do this well and get people talking about Gears of War again, like they did back in 2006, as Brad just mentioned a moment ago, then that would be a huge deal for both the coalition and, of course, Xbox when ending a generation and transitioning into a new one. You have the 2 biggest flagship titles for Xbox, the 2 pillars, the right and left hook of Muhammad Ali's bloody boxing punch. One marking the end of a generation on a huge high, being Gears 5, and the other starting a new generation on a high, being Halo Infinite. This is a big deal, Boom. Much like Halo, Gears has a huge world of mystery that we know very little about.
Yes.
There are comic books, there are books you can buy and read, but we're gamers, man. Like, not a lot of us like to read. That's why we game. And and that's why, when you look at the previous offerings when it comes to Gears, as you and Brad just said so eloquently, it has been very straight and narrow, very limited. The narrative that presents itself, whether it be the Marcus Phoenix story or JD Phoenix trying to find out what the swarm is, in this very linear. And while I love it, if there's any possible way that I can immerse myself even more into the universe, then I say bring it on. So this is weird now with the 20 times bigger areas, right? So with the 20 times bigger areas to explore, this is a very interesting one, as you guys might have read that differently to me. But for me, that suggests to me that Gears of War 5 won't be going true open world, but it might have several locations that you travel to throughout the campaign that will give you freedom to explore, opposed to just going from story mission to story mission. I don't know if either of you have played Metro Exodus.
Oh, dude, I beat it. It's fantastic.
Oh man, I'm currently playing it. Absolutely phenomenal. But like Metro Exodus does with the train, the Aurora, when it goes from map to map, but then when you get to the map, and it, you know, when you get to the stages in the story where it stops at a map. So currently I'm in the desert. I was on a snow map a moment ago where you could explore loads of areas there. And now I'm on the sand map and I'm exploring, trying to find everything. But every place you stop at, you get a massive area to explore, as well as the main objective to travel to. So I think personally that's where Gears 5 is possibly going. But in any case, I'm a huge Gears fan. The Coalition did a phenomenal job with Gears of War 4. They admitted to playing it safe. But in light of Gears 4 being in my opinion, the most impressive Gears of War to date, especially with its multiplayer, I have full confidence in whatever direction they take the Gears franchise with Gears 5 and future Gears titles. And I'm excited. Honestly, it is my most anticipated game. It's going to be amazing. And that information you've just shown us, Boom, from Clobriel. No, not in Clobriel. Yeah, Clobriel.
Yeah, Clobriel, yeah.
That like just speaks volumes. And I've only really just discussed the biggest areas and stuff like that. When you consider Kate's story, industry-leading mode cap, varied multiplayer, play Gears your way, it suggests high customization and personalization, something we haven't seen in a Gears game. I cannot wait to see what they do with this, Boom. It's going to be massive.
You know, before we get you out of here, Brad, because I know we have 10 minutes before your meeting, and we don't want to, make you late for anything. I do have one final question, and it comes from Robert Griffin with the outstanding $6 super chat. He says, "Is there any Perfect Dark news?" Now, I held on to this a little while because there has been rumors, Brad, that the Coalition was working on a new Perfect Dark.
Yep.
That came out very early 2019. If you remember when the year first clocked January 1st, on the clock, news from the Xbox started pouring out of every pore possible. And this is one of the big stories. Have you heard anything?
So I love Perfect Dark.
Me too. Love it.
I played it. Oh gosh. Wasn't that it was a game back with the N64, you actually had to put in an additional memory pack in.
Yes. The black pack with the red thing to grab it. Yes.
Yeah. Yep. If you want to play multiplayer with like 2 people or whatever instead of just yeah, that game was awesome. I have heard that it is under development. Like they're working on a title. Unfortunately, I don't know much about it, but I have heard from people saying, yeah, that actually is a project that is underway. Now, what we don't know, unfortunately, is what does that mean? Does that mean that they're working to bring one of those legacy titles forward, which would honestly be nostalgia heaven for me?
Yeah, I agree.
Or are they going to try to... I've struggled to think that maybe they would try to continue the story. Maybe they would start a new storyline.
A reboot sounds better.
Yeah, because there's been just such large gaps between everything that's come out with it. So I think there is merit to the Perfect Dark stuff. Unfortunately, I don't know exactly how much merit there is.
That's pretty interesting. I'm a big Perfect Dark. Joanna Dark, I think, is a character that needs a new story. I think that, like you were saying, she's been around too long for younger gamers to understand who she is. So I would love a reboot. I don't know whether we would. I mean, Brad, let me ask you something. Would you want it in first person or would you want it in third person? That's a great question.
See, that's tough. That's tough because typically I like first person shooters. That is just generally what I prefer. But at the same time, there were some great Ghost Recon games many years ago that were third person, Tom Clancy games, and so I think. I'm going to answer that question by not answering. I think it would depend on the gameplay mechanics. Like if it's like a real fast twitch shooter, I very much prefer first-person shooter. But if it's more tactical, more you've got gadgets and whatnot, and you can move elevations and all that good stuff, then I very much prefer third person.
Okay, that sounds good. Well, listen, you know what? We are almost at the 60-minute mark. I promise to get you out of here. Before we do, though, I want you to tell everyone, first of all, where to follow you on Twitter. I follow you. I actually have you with alerts because I really am always interested to hear what you say. But more specifically, sub your incredible YouTube channel and even possibly purchase the book that you wrote, which we have an award-winning author on our show, and that's a big deal for us, and it's a big deal for you. Brad, please, before you get out of here, tell everyone where they could follow you, sub you, and possibly buy the book.
Yeah, so I try to keep the same username across all services. On Xbox Live, I'm BD Sams. On Twitter, I'm BD Sams. You can find me on YouTube. You guys did a great job plugging some links in there.
Yes.
For people who don't know who I am, my specialty is Microsoft. I understand everything from, I wrote a book about their Surface hardware, like how that was all developed. Like if Microsoft does it, that's what I specialize in. Not always necessarily. Some people will come out with some really crazy, like game specific questions. I'm not always great with that, but if you want to know about the next generation consoles, first party IP, I'm getting more information on these days, and just anything happening in the Microsoft world. That is what I know, and that's what I love to write about and work about and talk about candidly.
Well, it has been an absolute honor to have you on today's show. I would love to have you back in the future, maybe possibly post E3. Just out of curiosity, are you going to be going to E3 2019?
I haven't decided yet. My spring is always a disaster from travel. So. Okay. I'm already going to Seattle in like 3 weeks, and then I've got to go to New York a couple times. Then I'm going to Miami, and then in the middle of June I'm taking a vacation, and then in the second half of middle of June I'm going to Washington D.C. And so I don't know if I'm gonna have time. If E3, let me put it this way, was in New York, I would go in a minute.
Oh yeah, me too. But I'm actually going to my first E3 this year.
Yeah. New York is a 60-minute flight, super easy to get to. LA is a 4.5-hour flight.
Yep.
And so I haven't decided yet. I'll make a decision. I always apply for credentials and always get the press stuff. But I haven't decided yet if I'm going to go. So.
Well, listen, thanks again for being here. Welsh, anything while he's going out the door you'd like to add?
Thank you, Boom. I just want to say thank you for being on here, Brad. It was a true insight. Like it's a lot of your opinions and takes and your perspective on a lot of these topics were just amazing. And I really enjoyed your take and your opinion, and I'd love to have you back as well. It'd be amazing.
Sure. Well, appreciate it, guys. Keep up the good work, and we'll definitely see each other around.
Yes, well, thanks again, Brad. We really appreciate it. Please enjoy the rest of your day. Everyone, the incomparable Brad Sams, get out there, follow him, subscribe to his channel, check out his book. Again, Brad, thank you so much.
Have a good one, guys. Catch you later.
All righty.
Take care, Brad.
This was for me, I actually had to pinch myself having Brad on. First of all, we had over almost 170 people watching live. That's amazing. Real quick before the next topic, I have to thank Gotham Guy with the outstanding and ridiculous $20 super chat. He says the new Gears, Halo, Fable, and new IPs by Ninja Theory and the Initiative will be coming. We have to be patient. Correct on that, sir. Sony's exclusive games didn't hit its stride until 5 years after the PS4 launch. So fair should be fair. Well spoken, you kind gentlemen. First of all, thank you for the comment. Awesome. Thank you so much for the outstanding $20 super chat. But I want to go to Welsh. We started something new with the show, and Welsh wanted, because he's a content creator and he has some fantastic ideas. And he came to me a couple of weeks ago, and we're doing 1 or 2 topics per show that he writes these original topics, and he has one on tap that not only is amazing, but it might be the best one yet. So please take it away. Oh yeah, you know what? Before I give you the mic, I'm sorry. Anyone in the chat who does not have Gears 4, we're going to be giving it away. Thanks to @Wolfpack on Twitter. He donated the code a couple of weeks ago, and I kind of wanted to wait till Welsh was here, and of course until we were talking about the Gears of War franchise. So if you are in the hunt for Gears 4, I have a digital copy that I'm going to be raffling off. So go to Twitter and type in lower caps, Boom X Gears, and I will draw a winner before the show ends. So get out there and do that. And now on to Welsh. Welsh, please take it away with your incredible topic.
I appreciate it, Boom. I enjoy doing this. You know, it allows me to just hit the keyboard with fresh ideas, and a lot of it is inspired by circumstance, Boom, and especially in this case, as I'm sure everyone in the chat will agree, at least the majority. But me and Boom certainly are one of these people. But me and Boom, as well as millions of other people around the globe, no doubt Brad as well, like I'm sure he would have said it if he was still here, or is among them, are absolutely stoked to the high heavens for the upcoming Avengers Endgame movie. I mean, before I go any further with my topic, Boom, like, out of 20, what are your hype levels for this film, man?
21. There's no doubt about it. I mean, there is, you know, first of all, you have to understand something. And I've been talking about it. I have not made an official Twitter post on it, but on the 26th of this month, you know, two things are happening. First of all, I get to hang out with my brother Neo Mental, which I don't get a chance to do. You know, if you've seen him in Twitter, you've seen him in the chat plenty of times. You know, it's you know, family time is important. So on the 26th is a Friday, and breakfast with Boom will not be happening. I'm basically gonna you know, skip the show to spend time not only with my brother. My wife happens to be off that Thursday and Friday, so I'm going to spend the morning with my brother, and I go out shopping in the afternoon with the missus. You know, she works really hard, and it's very rarely off. But, you know, talking about the 26th, you know, movie history is going to happen on so many levels, Welsh, with the Avengers Endgame. First of all, it's already expected to make $300 million opening weekend domestically, which is it's going to break all records. And now there are some people, you know, in the know. John Canasta, you know, on YouTube. I think John's a great dude. Comicbook.com. Emergency Awesome on YouTube, and of course, you know, the Comic Book Cast. Now, these folks, they have hundreds of thousand subs, so they don't need little Boomstick talking about them, but they're my go-to comic book information podcasts and personalities, and I highly recommend you get over there and check them out. They all agree that this movie could break $3 billion. And for good reason. First of all, it's clocking in at 3 hours and 3 minutes, which is ridiculous. And I'm so excited. And it is the compilation of 22 films, Welsh. You know, I've been a fan since the beginning. I've been reading comic books since I was a kid. And to see this happening on the big screen, to be a part of this is just amazing. So, yeah, this is a great topic.
No, man, I know. People in the chat are probably sitting and scratching their heads like, why is the Xbox Factor gaming podcast talking about movies? Now, guys, hold your horses. I'll get to the meat and potatoes, but we needed to set a tone, because me and Boom, as well as many people, are very excited for this movie, and you should be. And as we all know by now, whether you are in fact a fan of Marvel or not, because there's a lot of people who aren't, you know, it does happen. But Marvel, as an entity, generates a shit ton of money and traffic from casual fans and hardcore fans alike. From its comic books, movies, and after the recent success of the PS4 exclusive Spider-Man, I think it is very safe to say that Marvel could quite literally take over the gaming medium as well if they truly wanted. So what better time than now, Boom, with the hype train being full steam ahead, approaching arguably the biggest climactic movie of one of the biggest movie universes created in history, than right now for Xbox to do these two things with this golden opportunity. Now, number one, Boom, I have this question for you. A lot like the Super Bowl, where, as we know, they sank a lot of money into you know, their marketing for the Super Bowl, because of the amount of people who, you know, tune in. So, you know, like the Super Bowl, millions of people globally are going to be watching this movie. Do you think Xbox would be stupid to pass up this golden opportunity to market their hardware, Game Pass services, and of course future exclusives dropping this year, like Gears 5, as we broke down earlier, and of course, no doubt, third-party titles that they have marketing deals with, just as an extra, hey, everyone, look over here at the Xbox. Yeah, that's us. Right before the bomb hits, that is E3.
I think it would absolutely behoove them as a company to jump on the bandwagon or the or tail chase Marvel in any way possible. You made mention of Spider-Man, and a lot of people are poo-pooing the newest Marvel exclusive for Sony, but that's Iron Man VR. And again, maybe it's not everyone's bag, but it's still, first of all, you got to look at what Sony's done. Spider-Man is one of the most iconic characters in comics. His face sells gazillions of t-shirts, hats, toys, banners, blow-up balloons, you name it, right? Iron Man, for the MCU, has been the face of the franchise. Tony Stark is an important character. Now, whether or not he dies or not is, we're all going to be holding our breath. Hopefully he doesn't. But that's a big get for Sony. It's a second exclusive game. So now you say, okay, well, one's a VR, one's Spider-Man. Then you look at what Nintendo has done with the incredible announcement at the Game Awards 2018, where Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, no one saw this coming, right? We all thought we were going to get, the Square Enix Avengers. We have heard nothing. All we actually heard, the latest article on that, is that it's next gen. So we may not even see anything this E3 at all, until 2020. So they're getting an exclusive. Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. First of all, it's going to be incredible. It looks incredible. I love the Ultimate Alliance series. I played it in the beginning of 2018 when they had the so-called HD versions. I was a dope. I went out and bought them both, and I played through them, and I beat them both, and I loved it. And getting and a big exclusive on a Switch, it's going to move consoles. The Marvel, listen, I put it to this way, Welsh and chat. The Marvel universe is so big right now that the Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 is going to move Switches the same way a Mario or Zelda game would. Mark my words on that. It's a big deal. So, to your point, yes, they have to get on board just with the advertising. Hey, we're Xbox, we're here, we have two different consoles. Hey, we have new, do something. Let people know. Let the casual market is going to see this film. But you have a second question that I think is even more important than your first one.
No, absolutely. I mean, the first question was setting a tone. Bottom line, me and millions of other people have got our tickets at the ready. We are going to be in that cinema, sat there with a massive bloody screen in our eyeballs. And what better place than a movie that literally is going to take the world by storm than to drop some advertisement. I just think Xbox is no secret. Their marketing isn't great, but they pulled out all the stops for the Super Bowl. Why not Avengers Endgame, which is probably going to be even bigger? But my question to you, number two, Boo, and this is the fun one, and this is one that I'd love to see the chat getting engaged with as well. But basically, does the success that Marvel has across the board with its comics, movies, and games indicate to you guys that Xbox should do a full-on Sony and purchase the rights, or however the business side of it works, but just for layman's terms, purchase the rights to a character or multiple characters? Who knows? Like, it depends what you guys think in the chat, and boom. But purchase the rights to characters from the Marvel universe and clamp down on a Marvel exclusive that maybe even to announce at E3. If you all agree, what is the project that you think Xbox should fund, undertake, pursue, however you want to read it? Boom, you go first, and everyone. Well, I say you go first. Brad's gone now. But But yeah, everyone in the chat, please, like, I'd love to get everyone's thoughts. Just put the name of the character you'd like them to do a game for, or the duo, or the team, like whatever it is. I just hit it up in the comments. I'm curious to see. Boom. What about you, man? If Xbox could do this and go full Sony, they've got Spider-Man, so Spider-Man's off the cards.
Right.
But who else could they grab and, like, let's face it, make a shit ton of money? You know, Marvel will make money. Everyone's a winner, and Xbox will get a good, good exclusive in the process.
First of all, I got to say this. As an Xbox fan, first of all, everyone knows I support multiple consoles. That's not a surprise. But Xbox is where I lay my head at night, right? I think it's almost a travesty of justice that Xbox has not locked down an exclusive. I have to quote the amazing Graphic God where he says a Daredevil game, and I think that's fantastic. I mean, if you put a Daredevil in the same space as like an Arkham Asylum or an Arkham City. First of all, you hear the fire engines behind us. That's how hot this show is right now. They're coming to put it out. So hold on just a second. My God, it's always during the best part of my shows that we get a siren. That's why I hate living on Shore Road. Anyway, getting back to what I was saying, Daredevil game is fantastic. So Graphic God, that's a great one. That's a great pick. Here's the thing. Exclusives still sell consoles. I think that somehow got lost in translation over the years. I don't know what Microsoft is going to do in regards to Marvel. Listen, I'm going to say this. A Marvel team-up is necessary. They have enough first-party studios to initiate a game on many levels of success, and it seems odd that they're the only big video game company that doesn't have one going. So maybe we're going to get one at E3, and we have a massive E3 topic that's going to be coming up after this one regarding the possible leak of Microsoft's plans. But Welsh, first of all, to answer your question, yes, it needs to happen. I don't think they could wait on this. Marvel is hot now. The obviously Endgame is going to make big bucks. It's going to sell lots of tickets. And a Marvel game, an exclusive Marvel game, not a character from the Avengers project. I don't want to wear a different Hawkeye hat and say that it's on Xbox. No, I want a game that you can only find on the Xbox, and of course you're going to get that on the PC, and that's fine. But there needs to be a Microsoft exclusive on the same stature, if you will, of Spider-Man and of course Marvel Ultimate Alliance on the Switch. So I hope that answers the question. I don't know what the chat has been saying because I've been talking, but someone just said Hulk. I'm trying to see who that was. DJ Singh with the Hulk smash. I don't know if you guys remember the Hulk game that was on the Xbox 360, was it? Or was it the OG Xbox?
Might have been OG, yeah.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was an open world Hulk game where you just threw tanks and everything, and I could see that happening. But take it away, Welsh.
Yeah, no, mine's simple. There was a time where I really would like to have seen like a Defenders game, but like kind of like the same formula as GTA 5 though. Like you've got Hell's Kitchen, New York, like the map and whatnot, and you can cycle between the four characters at will. And obviously certain missions you team up and it's the four of you, and then other missions you'll be doing a mission as Daredevil or a mission as Luke Cage or a mission as Iron Fist. Like I would have loved to have seen something like that. But then the other day when I was typing this up, it just hit me. I don't know why. It's because I recently watched the season 2 of Marvel's Punisher on Netflix, and I'd love to see a Punisher game, but in the same vein as the OG Max Payne 1.
Oh, that'd be great, dude.
Like,
yeah.
Think about Max Payne 1 for just 1 second. Like the long leather coat, it was very dark, very gritty, very emotionally,
very
violent, or everything. It was a dark game, like really quite it was very dark. And Punisher has that same motive as Max Payne. The fact that like Max Payne's wife died and he went on a vengeance mission. Punisher, his whole family got massacred. I just love to see a Punisher game where, not even open world. I'd love to see just a single player driven, linear as fuck, very strong story, basically the Sony formula, and just hit it out the park with a very good Punisher game. I'd love to see it. Whether it be exclusive, I'd absolutely love to see that, man. I was just thinking of Max Payne the other day after watching season 2 of The Punisher on Netflix, and I was just like, man, that would be sick if they did The Punisher with the same level of grit and darkness that the original Max Payne game gave you.
I got to be honest with you. That is pretty. That I didn't even think about that. That would be a smaller, quainter, story-driven title where you're up close and personal with the Punisher, right? You're tearing through the world with obviously the power of these systems. You can do destruction through walls, and you can have the ninjas from the Hand be involved in this. You can also have obviously some of his, you can have a Jigsaw in here. You can have a Bullseye. There's so many iconic Punisher characters that you can incorporate as boss fights. This is a fantastic idea. J Dubs also mentioned that. So you and Jay are right on point. You can even have a cameo from like what he was saying with a Daredevil in there, because obviously it's going to take place in New York, which is, at some point, it's dark, it's dirty, it's violent, it's over the top. And I think that would be great.
Also, can I just say though, Boom, like what better time than now for something like The Punisher or even Daredevil? I wouldn't be against Daredevil because obviously Netflix is, Disney have, Netflix has had to cancel all of their shows, and Saltis Gaming was only telling me the other day, shout out to him, that the contracted deal is none of the Netflix Marvel series characters can be made into TV shows or anything of that nature for like 2 more years.
It's 2 years, but I've heard talk behind the scenes that they're looking to put those shows onto Hulu, and that Marvel might be in talks with Netflix to just outright buy the characters to use them immediately.
I see. Oh well, I hope that happens. But before you said that, I wasn't aware of that. I was going to say it'd be cool if by law, as contract states, that they can't be seen on the TV screen in terms of a TV series, but they said nothing about a game.
Correct. Yeah.
So get on the phone, Marvel. Get on the phone, Xbox, I should say. But it's awesome, man.
Yeah, no, I think it's high time Microsoft steps up and gets their own. Listen, I don't care about being samey. You know what I'm saying? Spider-Man sold like gangbusters. It sold consoles. It sold digital copies. It sold physical copies. It sold collector's edition. Iron Man VR, I cannot wait to get into. Obviously, I'm a big supporter of PlayStation VR, proudly supporting that piece of tech. I'm going to be day one, Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. I cannot wait. I think the missus actually is excited. She may play that with me because you're going to have couch co-op. And I think it's high time for Phil Spencer to lock down a deal with Marvel. And like I said, I have full faith that they're gonna want a piece of this pie. Marvel is a hot commodity. It's a hot topic. Big movies coming out, and what better time for a Marvel Xbox team up than now? But you know what? Real quick, before we get on to the next topic, I have to announce the winner of the Gears 4 Digital Edition, and it's Jordan Ship. From Twitter. Jordan, first of all, thank you for being here. Thank you for retweeting it. Congratulations on the big win. That's obviously thanks to the community member who I mentioned in the beginning. I will be DMing you later after the show to give you your digital code. That, of course, is the Wolfpack, at Wolfpack on Twitter if you want to follow him. He is pretty amazing, and big thank you for him for donating that code. Congratulations to Jordan Ship once again. And we're going to move on to the next topic, and I think this is a good one. This is, folks, you got to remember, this is the biggest grain of salt you could possibly take on this show. But because it's out there on Reddit, and thanks to the outstanding D Black Raven, who is not only in the chat, but constantly is dropping information in my DM, this Reddit post detailing Microsoft's E3 2019. Now, look, here's the thing. It's Reddit, folks. So please, for the love of Jehovah, take it with a grain of salt. But I'm going to say this. If true, when Phil Dominus Spencer, thanks to, of course, the Lord King of the Iron Lords podcast for coining the Phil Dominus Spencer, when he walks out on that stage and then in the course of 2+ hours drops bomb after bomb like this post is suggesting, we as Xbox fans and the gaming community will be witnessing the biggest comeback in gaming history. It would even rival the Nintendo Wii U's disastrous 5-year tenure to the incredible resurgence of the company with the Nintendo Switch that launched in 2017. So, Welsh, when I sent you this, I know that your eyebrows got raised. So let's read verbatim what was posted on Reddit, and then we'll talk with the chat, and then we'll talk with you and break all of this craziness down. The person, I don't have the name of the person that actually posted this because there's no name there. Basically, what they're saying is, I saw this link today and it has source. The article is in Spanish, but I put everything into English in order for in order of what the article had to say. Supposedly, a verified admin on Reset Era forum by the name of Leocarian, Leocarian, I don't know who they are, heard about the following information that will appear at E3 2019. Every section and specific game or franchise has its own part. Very interesting. The show will open with the MCC trailer of the PC edition. This will be followed by a new Halo Infinite trailer / gameplay showing and a 2020 release in time with Project Scarlet, also known as Anaconda. Up next is Gears 5 gameplay with a holiday 2019 release. No surprise there. This will continue with a gameplay of Gears Tactics. Very interesting. New gameplay from Battletoads and Ori and Will of the Wisps. That is pretty much a lock. New expansions being announced for Sea of Thieves. Again, pretty standard stuff. A new mech game by Piranha Bytes, which could be the Mech Assault that I've been dying for of the OG Xbox days. There will be a new studio acquisition announcement. The world premiere of a Dino Crisis reboot from Capcom. Finally, for the love of Jehovah, Boom will finally be right. The new Splinter Cell game will finally be announced on the Microsoft stage by Ubisoft. Playground will show a tease of the new Fable game. And I'm going to say something nasty. That is hard-on inducing, folks. Okay? Ninja Theory will show their new IP called Bleeding Edge, which I don't know what that is, and if that's the name, that's dope. Rare will show the new IP for the next-gen systems, and closing out the show, if you could actually close this out any better, I don't know what you could do. The next-gen consoles will be revealed, followed with with new functions for Xbox Live service and more xCloud information. Now, all I'm going to say is this. Holy shit, if this is true, Drew and chat. What are your takeaways from this leaked Reddit post Does it have any substance? Should we just poo-poo it? Or could there be some truth hidden in the words that I just read?
I'm going to be completely honest with you, Boom, as I always am. Wholehearted honesty. And shout out to Tryhard Fan in the chat. He literally took the words right out of my mouth before I could even say them. As far as Reddit leaks, grain of salt, it's not, the dragon hasn't breathed the fire, so you got to just, take it as, as a rumor, like just with a grain of salt. But as far as that goes, like, in the words of Tryhard Fan, that is very realistic. Like that, what you just read is realistic. Like it's not, there's not one thing on that list that screams, nah, like that's impossible. That's not happening. No way. Nah, do you know what? Even more to the point, Boom, if there is any truth to this list, I wouldn't even be surprised if that's not even the half of it. I wouldn't even be in terms of like going, potentially treading on unrealistic territory. I wouldn't even be surprised if there's more we can expect to see than what this list sort of suggests.
There's nothing that's too far-fetched. I mean, okay, you can say what you want about Dino Crisis, and of course the white whale known as Sam Fisher, the Splinter Cell. Obviously I've been wrong 2 years in a row, and I hope they don't make me wrong a third year. Ubisoft, you're killing me.
For sure.
I just want to make mention of it. I'm trying to find what someone just wrote. First of all, let me just say this. This is a possibility. Okay, that's why I found it. Yes, NASCAR Allo in the chat is saying, I'm hearing third-party devs are fighting for spots on the E3 2019 stage. You know what? That sounds like the truth. Sony has listen. I take nothing away from what they've done. Okay, you know how I feel about Sony. I'm a supporter. I enjoy their stuff, but man, I think they took a shit by skipping E3 2019. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be vulgar. I'm going to have to call a spade a spade.
They didn't take a shit, Boom. They farted and they followed through. They thought it was safe.
This is a reality, folks. You got to remember, the third-party devs, even the bigger ones like Activision, they don't have their own show. It's too expensive. So they'd rather go on someone else's show and debut Call of Duty, whatever, right? We know Ubisoft is going to have a show. EA is not. And for good reason. They're going to have an event, but it's not going to be a stage presence. So Sony and EA out. Big ones. Those are big ones. Nintendo is going to have their, Treehouse event, which is always great, always fun for the fans. But Microsoft is the big dog in this squared circle, if you will, especially if you're a Mean Gene fan of the old WWF days. They have the ring to themselves. And the eyes of the world will be on Microsoft. And I think Phil knows it. I think Aaron knows it. I think Mike Ybarra is well aware of it. And I think that everyone from top to bottom at Redmond understand how important they're going to close out 2019. Remember, I've said it numerous times. Post E3 2018, if you are a Microsoft fan and somehow you are not excited from what they're doing, because there's been so much negative shit, it's sickening. I don't listen to some shows now. And mind you, I'm a content creator, but I listen to tons of other shows. But the negativity has nauseated me in a way where there are certain people in this community that A, I've unsubscribed to, and B, don't even listen to them when they're on other shows because I can't take the negativity. I'm a positive dude. This is a positive podcast. This is a positive show. I work with a very positive dude in the form of the Welsh Gamer. So that's what you're going to get here. And that's why you see me excited over the air. And I get happy and excited to talk about Xbox because it's my brand of choice. But this could be not only the biggest E3 in the history of E3s, this could logistically, Welsh, be the biggest E3 for the Microsoft Corporation, and I think they're going to knock it out of the park.
I completely agree. Frankly, just from this list, and like I just said a moment ago, I don't even think this is the full list. Like, assuming for a moment this is real, and this is like someone has snatched and grabbed some of the list. They didn't get the. I wouldn't be surprised if there was more to this list, because this what I'm seeing here is a very realistic and reachable target. And I think Xbox, I wouldn't be surprised if we see every single one of these things ticked off. Like you said, the whole Splinter Cell thing, that remains to be seen, because that's, you know, on the side of Ubisoft, and if they're going to pull their thumb out and finally bring a Splinter Cell like everyone keeps asking. But everything else, I think, is quite frankly a done deal at this point. The only thing I will say is I fully expect to see more new IP announcements. I know it says here Ninja Theory will show a new IP. You know, the new Fable game, you can technically say that's like new because it's Playground, that they're doing a reboot. Yeah, I think, but I fully expect to see more. I wouldn't even be surprised if we saw a glimpse into the behind the curtains of what the hell are the Initiative working on. Like, honestly, I fully expect, honestly, I do expect to see just a glimpse. I'm not saying a trailer even. I just expect to see something. You know, I really do. I think this list, while very realistic, I wouldn't be surprised if this is even half of what we can expect to see, which is amazing. Like that's not a bad thing. Like that's like complaining because you're being given too many cupcakes. Like, you know, everyone wants more cupcakes. Everyone wants more stuff. So this is awesome, Boom. Very doable. Halo Infinite, they're going to start strong with Halo Infinite.
That would be great. They need listen. Not only does Microsoft need to, you know, when a fight starts, like, you know, if you're a coy person like me, I don't like to fight. I will gladly, if need be, but I'm a peaceful kind of a guy. I walk silently, carry a big stick, and you know, the way you win a fight, especially with bullying the way it is. And I'm not saying anybody should get into a fight. I'm saying that this is how I would handle it. If someone came up to me that was bigger, and you know, that were holding all the marbles, and you're the little guy, the minute the person walks up to you, you punch them in the throat. Fight is over. They're on the floor. They're gasping for air. And if you're a scumbag, you rib kick them until they don't move. Right. That's how you start and end the fight. Because, you know, you're smaller, and, you know, the bullies like to pick on the smaller, more coy individuals. Well, this is an opportunity for Microsoft to do just that. Start E3 2019. They don't know Sony's not there. I don't necessarily would suggest they take shots at them. I don't think they didn't need to do that. They're too classy for that. You know, I don't agree with Kumbaya, but I don't think they have to take shots at Sony. Phil Spencer made it very clear that E3 was important to him and important to Microsoft and the Xbox platform. That's all he has to say. So go out there, start the show, and blow everyone's eyeballs to the back of their skulls with Halo Infinite stuff. And then it's all unicorns and rainbows all day long for the rest of the show.
Well, what have we said before, Boom? In terms of, like, in previous shows, you've presented the question, you know, Welsh, like, what do you think Xbox needs to do to make this the best E3 ever? And my answer was simple then, and I'm going to repeat it right now. Xbox just needs to do Xbox. They don't need to worry about anyone else.
Correct.
Great
point.
They just need to do Xbox. They just need to focus on what they're working on, what they're doing. And if this list here is anything to go by, you know, if there's any merit to this, and frankly, this is quite frankly the kind of layout I was expecting anyway, hence why I said it's realistic. But if this is what we can expect to see, like, Xbox is already winning. And I don't mean winning as in this piss poor console war. I just mean winning in terms of their own self-worth, their own, you know, they can tap themselves on the back and say, we did a good fucking job that day.
Yes.
We are, you know, that's all Xbox need to do, man. And as a fan of E3, a fan of Xbox, a fan of the future of gaming and gaming moving forward, I know, it's not a hint or a hunch at this point, Boom. I know full well that this E3 is, in fact, not my opinion. It's not even Phil's opinion. It is just the case. It is, in fact, going to be and has to be, and Xbox knows it has to be, the biggest E3 yet.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Real quick, Thanaros in the chat says, Boom was a police officer. I wouldn't want to mess with him. Don't let the nice guy fool you. Actually, here's the thing. They used to call me Officer Friendly. And in 21 years, I can count on one hand how many times I actually had to get physical with folks. So sometimes, in that line of work, people just don't want to go. Even and no matter how nice you were. I was a youth officer. I worked with the community, and that was my forte. Which is, working with the community now is kind of like second nature. So yes, I actually am a good guy, and I don't really, I never really had to fight with anybody. My personality and the way I you see the way I speak on the shows. That's this isn't fake. This is me on and off the air. On Xbox Live or PSN or Nintendo. It just is just me in real life. I love being a good guy, and I love being positive. That's why I think that a lot of people come to this show, because quite frankly, some of the other shows have gotten real boring and talk about the same shit. Hate. It's boring. You can't be overly happy. Someone in the chat also, and I'm not sure who said it, and I apologize. They said that even when we're being critical, we are still reasonable. And that's the truth. I mean, listen, Microsoft makes mistakes, and when they do, I will, of course, call them out on it. But I will not sell, my Xbox One because they made a boo-boo. But you know what, Welsh, we're putting on, if people are wondering, this is going to be a 2-hour show. Because, we had Brad on for the first 60 minutes, and, we had put the topics together so he can talk about them. I hope everyone enjoyed that. And we have a few other things that we want to finish before the 3:00 hour here in New York. And that, of course, is one of the Welsh gamers and myself favorite topics, the Xbox Game Pass. It's gotten even better, and I'm honestly not sure how that's possible, Drew. They announced 6 games going into Xbox Game Pass. But that also includes, but people seem to forget, April 1st saw Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, which is an amazing versus game. Capcom at their finest. Shamefully enough, it didn't have the X-Men. From what we've heard, secretly, there's going to be an Uncanny Edition it's being worked on right now at Capcom, where it's going to include all of the X-Men characters and the Fantastic Four, which Marvel just got the rights back to with that Fox deal. But the six games in question, Drew, they're amazing, man. This is another reason that if you don't own Game Pass, either you're rich or you just don't like the game. I don't know what to tell you. Game Pass it's worth its weight in gold. So let's break down the 6 games being added, Drew. First of all, you're getting Prey on April 11th, which is an amazing game. If you like that kind of BioShock-esque kind of game, I really want to beat that game. I put maybe about 3 or 4 hours into it. It got lost in the shuffle. I have to get back to it. It's had a few expansions. A lot of people, a big fan of his, and he's also a friend of the show. Randolph Thor really enjoyed it, as well as Jez Corden of Windows Central fame. He talked about it like crazy. You have the Golf Club 2. Now, I'm not the biggest golf fan, but I will play video game golf. And that's coming also on April 11th. And this is a big one. This is a Capcom love letter to the fans of Xbox Game Pass. Monster Hunter World. That's a big get for the service. That releases on April 18th. And of course, on April 18th, again, you're getting The Walking Dead: A New Frontier, which is the 3rd in the series, not counting Michonne, of the defunct now Telltale Walking Dead series. Life is Strange 2, Episode 2 on April 24th. Which is Life is Strange is just a great game. If you've never played the original, it's in there. I didn't play 2. Did play 1, really enjoyed it. Very emotional story. Very Telltale-ish, if you like those kind of games. And rounding it off, Drew, is Resident Evil 5 on April 25th. Now, a lot of people did not like Resident 5. I absolutely adored Resident 5. Chris looked like a wrestler. I love the fact that it had co-op. It was Resident Evil. It just was in a different location. They weren't zombies. They were kind of like 4. They were like undead, but not undead. I really enjoyed the game. So those are your 6 games. Drew, first of all I have to say is wow. Microsoft continues to make it nearly impossible to say no to Xbox Game Pass. What are your impressions on what they've just announced for April?
Well, I'm gonna revert back to a conversation I was having on Twitter earlier today. It was brought to my attention that in light of these 6 titles and the last 6 that were announced as well, it seems a lot of people over at the Sony camp, not trying to point fingers, but they're looking for reasons as to why or how, having pretty much next to nothing, free games almost for the low price of however many dollars a month or what is it, like $100 a year, whatever. It's just like somehow they're turning it into a bad thing. I just think the reaching is incredibly crazy at this point, because how can anybody forget the announcements before? We're just talking about the 6 you just mentioned. Like, how can anyone be displeased? Like, even just Monster Hunter World alone, which was, oh man, I don't know the correct terminology. Correct me if I'm wrong, Boom. It wasn't that like multiplayer game of the year last year or something of that effect?
Yeah, I tell you one thing: it sold the most copies in Capcom's history of being in the a developer. Over 12 million copies sold worldwide.
Yeah, and no doubt it probably still is selling like hotcakes. It's a very popular game, a very good game, especially with friends. And they're happy to put it on Game Pass. Like, I just think it's phenomenal. Like, and this service, like, oh my god, I like. Sorry if I'm repeating myself, guys and girls in the chat, but my god, the value just gets better and better. It just seems every 2 seconds you double back and you're like, whoa, another 6 games? And it's not even like they're crap games. Like Resident Evil 5, absolutely brilliant game. Loved that game. The Walking Dead: The New Frontier by Telltale, the 3rd installment of the Clementine story. You've already got Telltale's Walking Dead 1 and 2 in there, if I'm not mistaken. Golf Club, I'm sure people enjoy that. Life is Strange 2. I haven't played Life is Strange 1, but hey ho, pray. Never played it, but still, just Monster Hunter World alone takes the cake. Like, what an announcement! Like, what a nice variation of games on an already ever-growing service there's no sign of them capping the limit of games that you can have in this service. You're paying the equivalent of 2 AAA titles a year, and you're getting all this free fucking stuff, man. It's crazy, Boom. Like, I don't want to rinse and repeat the same stuff I've said time and time again, but I think it'd be a disservice to this service, pardon the pun, if I didn't say it again, like, because there could be some new people in the chat who haven't seen any of our previous shows, and this is the first one they've watched of the Xbox Factor, and I'll say to them, this service is just undoubtedly the most consumer-friendly and gamer-friendly, value for your money, bang for your buck service, and that is not even my opinion. It's a fact. There is no other service like this other than Netflix, like, if you were to compare. And this is an Xbox service, and going forward with the initiative of Play Anywhere and stuff like that, it just blows my mind, Boom. And like, just look at those titles. Not one of them is a dud. And just alone, Monster Hunter World is a fantastic title, which still probably costs a heavy penny if you were to go out.
Probably still $30.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
Like, you it's just incredible, Boom. Like, Xbox Game Pass just never ceases to amaze me.
I mean, look, what could you say? You know what I'm saying? I mean, listen, gaming's an expensive hobby, and as we've all experienced it before, this isn't a foreign concept. Things happen in your life where unfortunately hobbies sometimes have to be put to the side because of real life, whether it's a broken part in your car, whether it's a parking summons, whether it's a dentist bill, a hospital stay, God forbid, mom needs groceries. Life gets in the way, and what this allows the even more so. I mean, like, thanks to Mooch, I buy everything, and to the to his credit, for the most part, I try to. but I'm a retired guy that's not working, that's living off a pension. So there's some sacrifices that have to be made. And a lot of the times, sometimes you got to sell games to buy other games. I've done that. I still do it, unfortunately, because I don't buy everything digitally. And Monster Hunter Worlds was one of those casualties. I sold the game to buy something else. I don't recall what it was, but I got about $40 for it from GameStop through a deal. And now it's in Game Pass. I already have it downloaded because I never really erased it. I mean, I'm running 14 terabytes, so I'm not really worried about space. So when that game becomes available, guess what? Boom will pick it up and start playing again, because it was, quite frankly, it's a bit grindy, but it's a big Capcom title, and I want to be down with other people and play that.
And it is a fun game, very fun game.
Yeah, I mean, besides being fun, again, every month, you gotta, what excites me. I mean, there's so many things that excite me about Xbox, Welsh, but we're, as Xbox gamers, right? We're all huddling around the same fire when the end of the month is coming, because we're going to get the gold, right? The games with gold announcement, and it seems they're following a very steady pattern: 2 Xbox One games, 1 Xbox 360 game, and an OG Xbox game, which I'm still, listen, Mike Ybarra, if you're out there, and I'm always tweeting at him, and he's tuning into the show, but he's not putting himself out there that he's actually listening. Could we get Splinter Cell, the OG Splinter Cell, as an OG, as a backwards compatible, OG title, please? Because I want to play the original one. I don't want to break out my Halo Special Edition that I got from my brother Neo Mental, which is still in storage and works, by the way. But we're all huddling around this fire. We're all excited. We're getting, so now we have games with gold, and then at the beginning of of the month, we're all waiting for that major announcement of what games are going into Game Pass, and I think that's freaking awesome, man. I mean, like I said, if you can't hang your hat at being excited for Xbox, maybe this platform isn't for you. I don't know. We've had some ups and downs, but we are definitely flying high by the seat of our pants. And I'm excited for the future. Anything else you want to add to the ridiculous amount of time we spent on Xbox Game Pass?
No, mate, I've said all I can say about that. All I'll say on the back of what you're saying is I completely agree with the fact that if people still, after everything we're talking about on this show alone, are still tucking their head between their legs and crying till they go to bed because of Xbox not doing this or not doing, then I completely agree when you say that the platform clearly just isn't for you. Like, if your head ain't in it at the minute and you're not hyped for Gears and E3 and all these different things that we've talked about just on this show, let alone the last 20 plus shows that we've talked, we've talked our heads off. Like, I formally invite you to the exit.
I love it. That's great.
That's all I can say. I'm not someone to hate on someone just because they got a different opinion. But if you're going to come into the chat or come and invade my Twitter timeline with moaning and crying about the same crap, jumping on bandwagons for clicks or traffic, just get the fuck out of my lane, man. I'm good.
Great
I'm
point.
good over here. I'm having fun, man. I'm enjoying talking gaming. I'm excited for what's to come. If you want to dampen the spirits, go cry into a pillow, you bitch.
You know what? I love the vulgarity. Normally I don't curse, but I love the edginess. You tell like it is, and I appreciate that. Now, I do have another topic, and I'm not sure if you're prepared for it. And if not, we'll talk about it next week. Did you happen to read the Killer Instinct one?
Yes, mate. Yes. I was going to ask if we could end on this one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here we go, folks. Killer Instinct is by far my favorite fighting game of all time. And yes, that is saying a lot when you think about Street Fighter, Tekken, Mortal Kombat, Guilty Gear, and all of the great SNK and Capcom fighters that have been released in the last 30 years. Killer Instinct 1 was released and developed by Rare and published by Midway and Nintendo. Initially released in the arcades in 1994 on the Ultra 64 motherboard. And it would launch in 1995 on the Nintendo 64 home console, and it was amazing. There's no doubt about that. In 96, Killer Instinct 2 was an arcade-only game developed by Rare once again, licensed by Nintendo, and manufactured by Midway. It was the sequel to Killer Instinct, obviously, and it was eventually coined Killer Instinct Gold, where it was released on the N64. And again, the magicians of Rare were able to port a near-perfect arcade copy. Now it doesn't look so good, but, obviously. Now, all of this information was, I got all this from credit to Wikipedia.com. I get a lot of my information, especially when you start talking numbers and names and dates. Then the series went on hiatus for years. That until a reboot of Killer Instinct series developed by Double Helix Games under the supervision of Ken Lobb, and the first game in the series to be published by Microsoft Studios. It was released in November 2013 as a launch title, and I remember watching that E3. I jumped out of my seat. I was actually at work at the time. Now, following the acquisition of Double Helix Games by Amazon, Iron Galaxy took the reins, and they have done nothing short of incredible post-launch content and have continued the greatness ever since. That, of course, brings us to 2019, Drew. And my prediction that wasn't in that E3 leak is that we're going to finally get a proper Killer Instinct 2. It will be unveiled at E3 2019, and it has been 6 years since the reboot. I believe it's the time for Iron Galaxy to bring the fans of the long-running series a sequel that they have been waiting for. One of my many reasons this needs to happen is because it's a Microsoft exclusive, and the fighting game genre, is something that Sony does not have. Right? They don't have their own fighters. They have third party, and it would be great for Microsoft to bring us a Killer Instinct 2. So this is where the topic gets fun, folks. And hashtag fun. Everyone in the chat, I want to hear what you have to say. So I posed a question to the Welsh Gamer, my partner and co-host in this venture of ours, to what 3 guest characters do you want to see added to the series? This was made very popular by the incredible minds at NetherRealm Studios, led by the awesome Ed Boon of the Mortal Kombat series. They don't have to be exclusive Xbox characters, so I have my 3 picks, but, of course, I'm a gentleman. I want to hear what the Welsh Gamer has to say in regards to not only your love for Killer Instinct, but what 3 characters you'd like to see added.
Mate, Killer Instinct is a phenomenal game. I'm not the biggest fighter fan. I'll hold my hands up, but that doesn't mean I haven't dabbled in Killer Instinct. One of my friends from the States that I play with now and again, he's a huge Killer Instinct fan, and more often than not, when I do jump into a party with him, we'll have a few rounds on Killer Instinct. I usually go as the Indian fellow with the two axes. I can't remember his name now.
I was gonna say T-Hawk, but that's Street Fighter.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of this bloody dude's name now. Anyway, it's a very fun game. Very fun indeed. I've played as Arbiter. Graphically sound, beautiful. To say it's not a game that Xbox should be invested in would, I think they should definitely, put more time, resources into, a true sequel. If that's what the fans want, then bloody hell, make it happen. I know they've done seasons and patches, and it's not the same game it was at launch when they rebooted it. But, if people want to see a true sequel to it, then I say have at it, and I'm fully behind that. Boom, 100%. Look at Mortal Kombat. What's the new one? Mortal Kombat 12 or Mortal Kombat 11?
11. 11. Yeah.
It's like if they wanted to, they could just make the one Mortal Kombat and just do a patch or a DLC pack every year. And
Pumpkin Queen says Chief Thunder. Yes, that is correct.
Chief Thunder. Thank you very much. He's my favorite whenever I do play Killer Instinct.
I use Saberwolf. He is my favorite. I'm a big fan of werewolves.
No, I love werewolves. Odin's wolf. But yeah, no, I think it's a great game. Should definitely be pushed. As for wait, did you want to do your 3 picks?
No, I'm a gentleman. You go first, sir.
Oh, he says he's a gentleman and he says he's a nice guy and he never wants to shout at people. But the second he clicks the off-air button, I get it in the neck, man. He's not the same Mr. Nice Guy you see in front of you. No, man, I've got 4 picks, if that's okay.
Good, that's great. Excellent. Go for it.
Right. This first one, I had a lot of fun with in my mind, my imagination, like you come to me and you were like, Bo, Welsh even. What characters would you love to see in Killer Instinct as like guest appearances, like Arbiter and General Ram? And I just thought, right, okay, Boom, you're giving me far too much work with here, man. My imagination's going mental. And at number 1, in no particular order, but the first one, Cuphead.
Oh, that's hilarious,
mate. Just imagine.
You just think of a beefed up Cuphead.
Yeah, mate, I'm not even joking. Like, imagine, like if they did just a bigger version of Cuphead with the straw and everything, and his super move as he shoots the blue lasers out of his finger. And man, I'm not joking. Like, Killer Instinct doesn't take itself too seriously. Like, you have got the Battletoad guy.
Yeah.
You know, I just
General
think
Ram.
General Ram, Arbiter. Like, I think they could definitely do Cuphead, and I'm not gonna lie, I think that would sell copies of that game. That people would invest time. I would want to play Killer Instinct if they had Cuphead as a fightable character, man. I am telling you, and I'm not even the biggest fighting gamer. So yeah, that sits supreme at the top. Cuphead. I'd love to see Cuphead make an appearance in Killer Instinct. That would be fucking to the roof funny. Second, Terry Crews as the Crackdown.
Oh, as a Crackdown. That's a good one, dude.
Yeah, imagine him like boom, yeah, boy, you know, all that shit. Like,
that's great.
Man, I'd love to see Terry Crews' agent as one of the choices. Number 3, I've got Fable's Jack of Blades.
Oh, dude, that's a really good one. Wow, dude.
Yeah, I thought that was a good one, man. Like he's like the evil mastermind from the original Fable. He's got a nice, unique look to him. He's powerful. You know, I think that would be a quality with the magic as well, like put into play. I think that would be an awesome throwback, nostalgic choice. Not to mention a great guest appearance because it's from an exclusive IP. I'd love to see that. Number 4, last but not least, you've got General Ram, who is the general, aka the King Grub of the Locust Army. So who better to have toe-to-toe against General Ram than Clayton, the Grub Killer Carmine?
Oh, dude, that's a good one. Wow, dude, that's awesome.
I was going to go with the obvious, like, you know, Marcus Phoenix and whatever, but no, I thought, no, let's keep it fresh. Let's keep people guessing. Clayton Carmine, the Grub Killer, the only surviving Carmine character. Him toe-to-toe with General Ram. Who's going to win? Ram, the backstabber, or Clayton, the surviving Grub Killer Carmine? Let's see it happen, man.
Those are really awesome. I gotta say, man, those are awesome choices. Really, really awesome. Some good ones in the chat. Z Black Raven says Riddick would be a great character. Holy shit, that'd be great to see Vin Diesel there. I got NASCAR Alo says Halo John, obviously Master Chief. That's a good one. I'd like to see Master Chief in there. Jewel from Recore Thanaros says that. Here are my 3. There's some old school ones in there. One's a pretty obvious one. First of all, I want to say my first one is Joanna Dark from Perfect Dark series. We were just talking about her with Brad. I'd love to see her in there. You know, she has what it takes, you know, to give her some of her specials, some of her gadgets in there. That would be pretty cool. Cortana from the Halo series would be awesome to see her in there in that light blue. Maybe she can clone herself, you know what I'm saying? Split in half and do some supers that way, ultra combos. And the last but certainly not least, Ryu Hayabusa from the Ninja Gaiden series. He's been in hiatus for a long time. I'd love to see him slice and dice people. Obviously he's not going to do any fatalities. This is in Mortal Kombat, but you could certainly do, the violence that it does, have in that game, whether it's blood or green blood from a cyborg. It'd be pretty interesting. LMNOP in the chat with the outstanding $5 super chat. He says, I would love to see a zombie hunter from State of Decay or a happy cop person from We Happy Few. Wow, those are good choices.
I like the happy cop, man.
Yeah, that's actually
the white mask. Sadistic as hell, man. That's cool.
That's great. Oh man. So listen. This has been. First of all, we broke records once again. We had over 170 people watching live. This has probably been the biggest show that we've ever had. Simply because the topics were really just complete fire. But more importantly, the fact that we were able to get someone of Brad Sam's stature on the podcast is a big get for both the Welsh Gamer and myself. The chat, once again, you guys were just amazing. It seemed like there were no trolls, and I love that about this chat. Of course, we have several people in here who keep it nice and police it very well in the form of UK Dazarus, great community leader, as well as Lethal Papa, who doesn't take shit. And I don't know if the Indie Gamer, yes, the Indie Gamer was here, so I don't know. He is his moderator. He's also, he's the guy that carries a big stick, walks silently as well. I really dig his help. But you know what? This has been a great show. It's the first 2-hour show in a while. Drew, please tell everyone where they can follow you on Twitter. More importantly, sub your incredible YouTube channel and talk to you privately through DM.
No, absolutely, Boom. And as a fifth pick, the Punisher. Why the hell not?
Yeah, why not?
No, Boom. Excellent show. We weren't kidding when we said that this was going to be a big one. The topics were fantastic this week. A hell of a lot to talk about. We keep it positive. We keep it real. We don't like to lower the tone. We don't jump on bandwagons. Me and Boom are as 100 as it gets. And we very much enjoy what we're doing. And I had a lot of fun this week. Thank you very much, Boom. Those topics were phenomenal. Looking forward to next week already. And I am the Welsh Gamer. 3 words, the Welsh Gamer, for the YouTube, and at the Welsh Gamer 93, 1 word, Twitter. Follow me, hit me up in a DM. I'm always open to talk. Interact with me. I'll interact with you. Follow me. I'll follow you. There's no favorites here. And everyone, big ups to you. Everyone, as always, you are phenomenal in the chat. You make me want to come back week after week. And make sure you hit the like button if you enjoyed the show, because I know I certainly enjoyed the show, Boom.
Yeah, no, real quick, Goth Witch Girl saying Queen of Blades from StarCraft. I don't know what's with StarCraft. I didn't play StarCraft. I hope it does eventually come to the Xbox, because PC is Xbox, Xbox is PC supposedly. So I'd like to see some new RTSs. That's actually a really good choice. Before we get out of here, we still have over 100 people watching live, 120 more specifically. J Dubs in the chat not only graced us with his presence. I would be remiss if I didn't talk about xboxgamerpicks.com. It's turned from a passion project into an actual business for J Dubs. If you don't know who that is the graphic god. Also Agent Dubs on Twitter. He has done all of the work for me professionally on my YouTube channel, which included new avatars as well as channel banners. He's done the avatars that you see on today's show for both the Welsh Gamer and myself. As a matter of fact, he's done the logos for many shows as well as the banners. And just because it says Xbox Gamer Picks, don't think he can't make one for you for your PlayStation account. His work is original. It's extremely affordable. And why I enjoy working with Jay is because it's personal. The one thing I enjoy about working with him directly is that, instead of using emails and DMs, he takes it to another level where he sets up private Google Hangouts and talks with you as if you were talking on the phone. And I think that's the real personable way to go about getting the exact pick that you want to represent you on social media. So if you haven't already, please head over to xboxgamerpicks.com. Tell them the Welsh Gamer and BoomStick XL sent you. He does do a survey on how you found out, and we like to get him all the business as possible. Remember, money doesn't grow on trees, and the guy does work really hard, and his work is second to none. So go out there, support J-Dubs, aka the Graphic God. And the Welsh Gamer and I had a great show. The chat, you guys are amazing. The generosity in the super chat has been nothing short of amazing. So thank you for that. And we will see you next week on the newest and hottest episode of the Xbox Factor podcast. Have a great day, everyone. And I'll see you tomorrow morning on Breakfast with Boom. Take care.
Why? No, you've ruined the show. Oh. You right? Yeah, it's finished. Just got off to sleep. Oh, nice.